Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the CineMatch podcast, the show where we take different movies every week and use different ways to rate them and debate them as we continue coming up with new creative ways, seemingly every single episode now. We officially are in Halloween month when this drops. Not at the time we're recording, we're a little bit ahead of schedule, but...
No, I'm not. It's 100% October. Right now, it's October the 5th.
But yeah, we will are officially in Halloween month, October, one of my favourite months of the year. It's all going to be Halloween horror themed for the next 4 episodes, and I'm very excited about it. My name is Cal Altabus, and I am one of your hosts. And joining me, as he does every week, is Mr. Nathan Hanna, who, will you be married by the time this comes out?
I will have been married in an hour. So
It will be, congratulations for surviving an hour.
An hour with a sack Appleby, yeah.
Yeah. The nicer one, though, so it's fine.
Yeah,
how are you?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Loving this October weather that we're having. No, yeah, I'm good. I finished work today, ready to go on the holiday for the wedding. So, all feeling chilled. Though I have had to watch these films, so that's ruined my mood a little bit. But before we get into it, I need everybody to know I did not like these movies. Sorry, Dan, I did not like these movies.
Don't like either of them.
I preferred one over the other, but I will not say.
Fair enough. Well, we might as well get into them. The 2 films we're doing this. The first one's to kick off our Halloween month. We're going with 2 of the most iconic slasher franchises in the world. We've got Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors versus Friday the 13th, Part 3, or as it was called when it came out, Friday the 13th, 3D. I don't know if you noticed. It's supposed to be 3D.
Can't you tell it was supposed to be a 3D movie? Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, you're not really that big a horror guy, are you?
No, I've never. I think being with Grace, that was probably the most I've watched horror movies. Yeah. I've never really. I think the only horror movie that I ever actually liked before being with Grace, was probably It Part 1. Like, I've liked a few, like Faculty, which is a banger, and there's a few smaller ones, but it hasn't been it's been like the past 4 or 5 years that I've really started watching more and more horrors. Like Halloween, I've always loved Halloween, but now I'm starting to love Halloween and watching horror movies. But yeah, not really ever been a horror guy, and never seen a Freddy movie, never seen a Jason movie. And I was told that Jason Friday the 13th Part 3 is introduced obviously the hockey mask, so I was quite looking forward to that. And that I was told by 2 people who I usually respect their opinions that Dream Warriors is a good movie, and fuck you guys.
Yeah, well, this will be an interesting one then, because I like both movies, but I'm a big slasher guy. There's one of my favorite subgenres in the world is just 80s slasher movies, like just 80s versions, because they're all quite similar, but I could watch 100 of them. Like, I think they're so fun.
I think if it was to dive into like the kind of horror movies I like, it's either like slasher movies or just supernatural. We're doing an episode this month that I'm looking forward to, the next week's episode that I'm looking forward to, because I love those movies, and you'll know what they are later on. But I'm going to say later on in the week, but then I freaked myself out. I was like, no, it's going to be in 2 weeks. No, it's not. It's going to be in 1 week by the time this is out. It's confusing me so much. But yeah, the slasher one's definitely better than... I don't like the Hostels and the Saws, not really. Or what's the really shit one? Paranormal Activity, stuff like that, I really can't stand.
Which is interesting, because you like Cloverfield, which is also found footage.
Yeah, but Cloverfield's interesting.
Have you ever watched Blair Witch Project?
No, do you know what? I haven't. That would have been a good one to do, because I've never actually seen the Blair Witch. But again, when I was younger, teenager, even in early 20s, whatever, horror's never appealed to me. It's always been boring to me, and it's probably because of these kind of movies that I've been forced to watch today.
Yeah, this is quite. It's interesting. We obviously haven't gone with the originals in either franchise, because
I don't think it helped that I was like, I've never seen a Friday the 13th, and I've never seen a Nightmare on Elm Street, and I watched Part 3 of both of them.
Well, the Nightmare on Elm Street one is pretty tough, because the first one's actually a good movie, and it's a solid movie. But with Friday the 13th, I mean, spoiler alert for a film that's, I think, 43 years old, but the first Friday the 13th doesn't actually have Jason as the killer. And I wanted to do it Freddy versus Jason. I didn't want to do it Freddy versus fucking Pamela Voorhees. Like, it wouldn't have been the same. And this one, he's when he gets the mask. And considering it's the third in each franchise, I thought it'd be the best to do, because the second one, it's Jason, but he just got a bag over his head. Similar to what he looks like for the first half of this one, but it's the hockey mask is when he turns iconic. Like,
not the iconic look, yeah.
So I thought this was the best option. Obviously, you might disagree now, but we'll.
I can't remember what the other options were, but I know we've got a bit of a theme from it running throughout each week, leading up to the one that I'm really like, the last one that we're looking forward to, definitely.
Yeah, we're touching on a couple of different subgenres in the horror franchise, or horror genre, should I say, over the next 4 weeks. So
thought we'd start off with some classic characters, like
Yeah.
the staples, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's these two. It's Michael Myers. It's like those three. I'd probably say the most iconic horror movie villains of all time. You could probably squeeze like Leatherface in there. I'd say Ghostface, but because it changes actor every year, every time, it's hard to put him in the same.
I think Ghostface the symbol would do it. I would also stick Chucky in there.
Yeah, Chucky.
Because very recently, literally over the past year, I've become a huge Child's Play fan. So thanks to the same person that lent me all the DVDs to watch this one.
So, do you know what? That's a franchise I've never been big on.
What, Child's Play?
I've never really watched most of them.
And do you know what? I think the weird thing is that most of them aren't great, but I love them because they know they're stupid.
Yeah.
Like, they know the premise is stupid. Whereas, for God's sake, let's just get into it, shall we?
Yeah, we might as well get started then. So without further ado, we'll dive in. Like I said, Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors versus Friday the 13th Part 3/3D. We'll start with the story.
Right.
Because the Friday the 13th story is essentially just kind of the same as it is in every single Friday the 13th movie, apart from the first one. It's teens go on a vacation to a lake, Crystal Lake, funnily enough. You'd think people would stay away after the first several gruesome murders, but teens go to Crystal Lake, and one by one they're picked off by Jason. It's bog standard. There's not really much more to the story than that. It's Jason Voorhees kills teenagers that are on a vacation in the woods. Friday the 13th, I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street, though, is different because the first one was genuinely scary, and it felt like by the third one, they were more interested in kind of like hamming it up a bit. And it's not just your stereotypical slasher. This time it's the kids fight back. It felt to me more like a Steven Spielberg movie.
Do they fight back?
Some of them do.
Fucking barely.
We'll get into my guy Kincaid in a minute. Love that character. But yeah, so in the Nightmare on Elm Street, obviously it's about teenagers and young adults that are in some sort of mental hospital due to the dreams they've been suffering at the hands of Freddy Krueger, and the doctors and everyone just thinks they're suicidal and they've just had a bit of a psychotic breakdown. But the arrival of a certain Nancy Thompson, who you obviously haven't seen the first one, but she's the lead girl from the first one.
Yeah, I was like, I think I said it to you the other day after I watched the Freddy. I was like, she seems important. I better pause it and go on Google. I had to Wikipedia. I was like, I bet she's from the first film. Like, yeah, she's from the first film.
Yeah, Nancy Thompson is obviously there to use her past experience to help the gang, and they end up somehow going into this dream world and taking on Freddy head on, which we'd never seen before. And the others, they're just terrified and just get picked off easily. So it switched things up a bit. And for that reason, I went 10-9 in favour of Nightmare on Elm Street Dream Warriors, because the Friday the 13th one, while it's tried and tested, it works. It's a winning formula. They made like 12 movies. Can you believe that, by the way? 12 movies in the Friday the 13th franchise.
Oh, yeah, because people get annoyed that there's not a 13th, Friday the 13th.
There fucking needs to be. Give us a 13th.
Do you include Freddy versus Jason in that?
I don't know. I can't remember if that counts. I'm not going to sit there and count them all off the top of my head now because I'll be for ages. But Yeah, it's tried and tested, but again, it's the same old stuff. We've seen it before. Whereas I like the fact that Nightmare on Elm Street switched things up. So I went 10-9 in favor of Dream Warriors.
Yeah, I mean, it probably was the one to start it all anyway, the Cabin in the Woods thing, I imagine, just because of the age of it. But it is like Evil Dead. And it's even like to the point where it's Cabin in the Woods, the film is literally that concept of how many films have done that where they can do, the monsters. Cabin in the Woods is a great movie, by the way. If you told me we were watching that, I would have been dead excited. Where they can use loads of different monsters because that setting's been used so many times. But yeah, I think the story to both of them weren't anything that enticed me massively. But I think the story is better in not Freddy versus, Nightmare on Elm Street, though, just for the I think the mental institution like story of it, that they're having to go through all of this and they're trying to be cured and people are ignored. It's not like it's just not like people. I've not seen the first one, so I've not got as much knowledge of it. I assume it's people like waking up at night and just complaining that they've got dreams and people won't believe them, whereas this time you should be believing them. You're in a mental institution, but instead they're just labeled as crazy, so they're having to battle that as well as Freddy. I mean, when I say it sounds like really deep and whatever, but in execution it's still shit. But like the groundwork's there, and I do prefer that side over it because it is that little bit better.
Yeah. We'll move on then to the opening of both. The opening to Friday the 13th is interesting if you haven't seen the second one. If you have seen the second one, then it's kind of just rehashing because the entire ending, the entire opening of Friday the 13th Part 3 is just the ending of Part 2.
Really confused. And then I was like, I bet this is the ending to the second film. Googled it.
Is.
Yep. So what you count as the opening, you're going to count the end as the end of that one? Because to me, that's the opening.
Yeah.
But it's a bit of a cheat if it's just really using the ending to the last film.
No, I'd say it's the opening. You can, if you skipped it though, you could go to the
shop.
Yeah, the shop where the man and the woman.
That's kind of how I scored it, because I was imagining that the second film, ending to the second film, didn't really count. If you just that again, it'd be like if you put the ending of Infinity War at the beginning of Endgame and be like, "Oh, this is fantastic."
That's very true. To be fair, yeah, that would be cheating. Yeah, then I guess we can go with that then. We've obviously got the guys in the shop, and the woman's obviously watching the news, and you can hear what's happened in the previous film, and we see that the girl from Part 2 survived, and then Jason obviously shows up, takes some clothes.
Very timid,
yeah, and then ends up killing the two. That's like the first bit where we get that hint that it's the 3D as well, with like the rod and the snake.
Yeah. Like, so do you know what? Because the DVD was like playing 2D, playing 3D, and I was so tempted to watch it in 3D. But I imagine it's like the shit 3D. Like, I weirdly got them to hand, but I bet it's like that kind of 3D.
Probably.
And I kind of want to watch it in 3D because it was so fucking terrible. But yeah, definitely didn't hide the fact it was a 3D movie, did it?
No, I think that's what's funny about it, especially in that time period. It was like when it was 3D, you knew about it. Like it felt like every gimmick they could use, they did.
Yeah.
But it's quite funny. And you
with the yo-yo. Like
the yo-yo's a big one.
He's like focused on the yo-yo for like a minute.
Yeah, there's obviously, not to spoil anything yet, but there's a few kills that really take advantage of it as well. But yeah, in contrast to that, you've got the Nightmare on Elm Street opening, which feels very similar to other entries in the franchise, where it's a girl struggling to sleep, and then she gets chased by Freddy. We hear the iconic dong. We get that creepy little motherfucking girl.
You hear the iconic dong?
No, I said song.
Oh, I thought you said dong. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
We don't hear Freddy's dong.
I don't remember. Well, you do later on in the film.
Makes a noise when he walks. But no, we hear that song, the creepy as fuck nursery rhyme. It's like 1, 2, Freddy's coming through. I hate it so much. And then we get that creepy little bitch that's like 6. That's like, oh, Freddy's home or something.
Oh, you mean the super realistic little child that gets carried around the house?
Yeah, but when she's actually a kid, it's creepy.
Yeah.
And then that all ends with the girl, Kirsten, I think she's called. Her mother finding her in the bathroom with the slashed wrists, and it's kind of like setting up how she ends up being placed into the mental institute where the rest of the film takes place. So both openings really don't feel like they've done anything new. Like it seems like they've rehashed what we've seen before. So how did you score them?
Friday the 13th we quite literally rehashed what we've seen before. Well, not me, but you know what I mean.
So how did you score them?
How did I score them? It was hard because I've not seen the second Friday the 13th movie. So as I was watching it, I was like, either they've really just jumped in and it's so old that they didn't think they had to explain it back in those days, which I know I am not old enough to remember those days before you fucking start. Or there was the obvious of, well, this is just the end of the movie and we're going to jump into the new movie shortly. So after I'd realised that was the case, I was like, okay, that's a bit of a cop-out. Like, I didn't really understand what was going on. Immediate confusion. I was like, what the fuck? Which I suppose is my own fault for jumping in at number 3 first. But then you go into the shop, and while I do like it because I think if you didn't have that opening, it would have been better, because you would have that. There was a lot of those moments where he's going to turn the light on. Is he going to be there? No, he's not going to be there. The sheet's going to move. Is he going to be there? No, it's not going to be there. And you hear the classic. I'm going to do a really poor impression of it, but you hear the ch, ch, ch. And I know that from Mortal Kombat. And no, but obviously I know that, and everybody knows that kind of iconic sound. And it really builds up, but I don't think it takes itself super seriously. I mean, I love the shop owner, the guy who's just walking around with a rabbit for some reason, eating food. But
he gets the shits.
Yeah, don't. This is my reasoning for why Freddy got 10 and Friday the 13th got 9, because he went through it disgusting sounding shit, like proper sloppy sounding shit. And then he didn't fucking wipe. He just stood up and started walking around. And for that, I can't give him the point. But the opening, I mean, I've not seen the other, like I said, I've not seen the other Friday the 13th, bloody hell, Nightmare on Elm Street movies. But I think it sets up more about who the character is and what the character is. Whereas Friday the 13th did it in a slow pace, which I usually quite like that slow build up. This one felt really slow. And then the payoff wasn't that great. It was just kind of killed, and then a knitting needle in the back of the head, and it was just it seemed a bit off. Whereas Freddie had that great moment of she's awake, so she goes to like wash her face, and then the tap grabs her, and like you kind of see Freddie being all like using the power of dreams in a way that you can't do in reality, like having all the pipes come to and grab her and slash her and stuff. So nice, creepy little children always work, let's be honest. And then into this is what he can do with his dream powers kind of thing. Loads better.
Yeah.
So 10-9 to Nightmare on Elm Street, which I'm surprised because so far it's 2 10s to Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, I know, because I know how much I hate the film. No, I did the same. I went 10-9 in favour of Nightmare on Elm Street for similar reasons. I think the creepy little motherfucking girl, like, that's really effective and it works. And there's not much, or there's almost no moment in either franchise, no matter which film it is, where I am a little like freaked out, but stuff like that always works for me. And like I said, that song, I don't know what it is. I just not a big fan at all.
What are creepy children singing?
Yeah, like, do you know when we have the Halloween song and then at the end it's the kids singing like the Halloween song? That is horrific. I hate it so much.
Yeah, it catches me off guard.
It really works, and I think
time.
That's why I went in favour of Nightmare on Elm Street 2, because, like I said,
Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Did I say 2?
You said I went for Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
I think I meant I went for Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, sorry.
2.
Usually when I explain my jokes, it's much better, Cal. Thank you.
Sorry, I honestly thought you just that meant 2. Right, so it's late, all right. Come with some slack. But yeah, I think even though the rest of the film is a complete tonal shift, that first bit is quite creepy. and I
Yeah.
like that in a horror movie. Whereas Friday the 13th, it's all been done before.
I'm not gonna lie, I was actually quite enjoying the opening, and I thought like this is the kind of film that I'm gonna like because it had like I love the modern It movies with Bill Skarsgård and whatever, and I thought it's gonna be a bit more like that. I didn't really know what I was getting into. The most I know about Friday the 13th. Oh, fucking fat Jesus Christ! It is late. Nightmare on Elm Street, and we'll talk about it when we get to Legacy. But the most I know about it is from The Simpsons, and I said that to you when we picked it, and so I was thinking we was going to get into that kind of creepy It type, Pennywise type stuff. So the opening, I think, really nailed it, except for that one moment when she's running around the house with what is clearly a doll. And I was like, that's really pulling me out of it. But then I forgive it because it's a bit older and a bit low budget and whatever.
Yeah,
But
that's fair enough.
Still fucking funny watching her run around with a doll. I'm like, I hope at some point it reveals she's like a dead body or something. And
I mean, it does.
luckily it did.
Yeah, so that worked.
It's always
Well,
always good when you're saying, I hope that child in her arms is a dead body.
yeah, that's it. We'll move on then to the best ending for both movies. Starting with Friday the 13th, I feel like I'm just rehashing a lot of what I'm saying here because that film is just like that ending. I feel like I've seen like 9 different times. Where it's interesting with the Friday the 13th movies, it feels like the main characters don't have a clue what's going on until the last like 10-15 minutes. Like she has no idea that everyone's been killed around her.
Oh no, she's fucking stupid.
Yeah, and it's just that they're oblivious until that final 10-15 minutes, and then they have to go on a run that somehow takes them through every kill zone and she sees all these different dead bodies that have been dead for like 25 minutes. And then we eventually get like the face off between Jason Voorhees and Chris, I think she's called. Which again, you could put that in any Friday the 13th movie and it would have been the exact same. And she eventually gets the kill. It's even very similar to the first one. She ends up on the boat in the lake, and then when she thinks she's safe, the corpse comes out of the water and grabs her. In the first one, it's a young Jason that comes out of the water. In this one, it's the corpse of his mum for some reason.
Yeah, do you think that's obviously? I mean, I'm guessing that's obviously purposeful as to why they recreated that.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's important as well that they included the end of the second one at the beginning where it shows how, despite the fact that Pamela Voorhees is dead, she still has all this control over Jason. So I feel like at that point, they still wanted to kind of stress her importance to the story.
Yeah.
That kind of disappears as the franchise moves along, but
Yeah,
in those early ones, she still played a big role.
I think even comparing the beginning of this movie with the bag on his head to the end where he's got the hockey mask, like he immediately looks just so much cooler by the end of it. So more, of course you're gonna side with the or keep focusing on the lumbering, unstoppable slasher over the lady who's dead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it makes sense. Although for me, old women creep me. I mean, not old people in general creep me out. So when she showed up, I was worried.
You do a podcast with me every week.
No, yeah, that's why I keep looking away. I can't stay too long. But yeah, because I feel like I've seen it all before, and then I mean, I've already kind of spoiled it. I went 10-9 in favour of Nightmare on Elm Street, which the ending again, it's quite different because it's about the kids going into the dream world and taking on Freddy, but it's also running alongside that. We've got Nancy's father and the professor like going to dig up his bones, which is something that never really happens in any of the others. So it's somewhat different, which I appreciate. Although I'm not sure how the skeleton came alive. I'm not really sure what's going on there because they weren't asleep, so I don't really know what happened there.
Dream powers, man. Dream.
But I like it. I like all the kids going in and kind of like the ones that haven't really stood up for themselves kind of have this like newfound power while they're in there. And it's not just these weird abilities that some of them have. It's like the confidence, like the ex-drug addict is like now like this cool punk rock chick. The guy that is a mute speaks in there. The kid in the wheelchair can walk. Like I like the.
Can we save that for supporting cast? I've got so much I need to say about these fucking kids.
yeah, we can leave that. But yeah, I like the way it switched things up, and it wasn't the same as what we'd seen before. And because of that, I went 10-9 in favour of Nightmare on Elm Street again. At the moment, it's fucking killing Friday the 13th.
I actually couldn't really remember the ending to Nightmare on Elm Street when I was scoring it, and it wasn't until like just before we came on tonight that I was like, oh yeah, they did that, and then they had the bones and stuff. And I did like it, but I liked it because it had some cool visuals, not because of what it was doing. Like I like the really, I don't think it probably wasn't Ray Harryhausen, but like the proper Ray Harryhausen type skeleton, that really, really jagged claymation, like Jason the Argonaut style. I love that look. I would, I would, I would get rid of all CGI if we could have films that look like that. Honestly, but and like this one of my more favorite moments in the film, one of my more favorite effects in the film, more favorite, I don't know if that's the term, but I'm not the writer here, you are, is when they're being pulled through the mirrors and you've got that hand-drawn cartoony of the mirror effect like being cut, and then when they come out, it's like really cleverly done. Obviously some mirrors are against the wall and others have got fake backs they can jump out of and stuff. So they did have some cool moments, and when Freddy is dying, and he's got that kind of splotches of almost looks like the Beast turning back into the Prince at the end of Beauty and the Beast, got all the bloody lights coming out of him and the cross on the forehead. Like, really loved all that kind of visual stuff. But, and I'm surprised myself because all I was doing at the ending of Friday the 13th was laughing. But I actually think I prefer the ending to Friday the 13th. So I went 10-9 to Friday because just for the pure fact, I love that ending shot where she's just fucking gone insane. She's just, I don't know, like again, I don't know what's in the other films, but she's clearly just gone in. Well, I know what's the end of 2 because I've watched that bit, but she's just clearly gone insane. She's like fucking heads rolling, eyes rolling. She's just laughing hysterically in the back of the police car. And for a film that made me laugh more than it made me jump or made me scared or maybe even slightly worried or tense, like that bit, I was like, that ending really fucking stuck with me because it was like, because when she woke up and I was like, what the fuck's he doing in the house? Like, why does he look like Sloth from Goonies? And I know that's what he's supposed to look like, but he looked really fucking cartoony. And wow, this fucking woman, who's this woman that's popped out? Like, I genuinely was like, this really fucking come out of nowhere. But then when she kind of, when you realize it, that never happened. Like, she wasn't on the boat. Well, she was on the boat, but she wasn't on the boat. She never got grabbed. He never was in the house. And that final shot of him laying there with the axe still in his head. I mean, I was expecting like a hand to twitch or something, and it just didn't. I was like, no, actually, that fucking shot's there. And when she like, when you see her going all crazy inside the police car, it really, really stuck with me. So I preferred that mainly because the fucking kids annoyed the living shit out of me in Nightmare on Elm Street. But I genuinely, I like, it is an ending we've seen loads of times. But I do think it is the better ending.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think that stuff you just said about the way she's portrayed as like having lost her mind is really effective, and I do really like the fact that we see Jason on the ground and he doesn't move, and then we see little shots of Crystal Lake and it looks almost peaceful, and it kind of like, obviously it certainly wasn't the end, but it could have been the end.
Yeah.
And I do like that. Obviously it gets undone with 9 other films afterwards, but
Well, I was reading an article on Dream Warriors after, and it's interesting because Wes Craven came back and had intended that to be the final ever. So he said he never wanted. This is me sounding like the expert when I literally read an article 2 days ago, but he never wanted it to be a franchise. He wanted Nightmare to be a one and done. So he came back to the third one after not wanting to do a second one to try and end it, so that Freddy could never come back. And then of course they kept finding ways to make him come back. But yeah, and it's interesting. Both movies could have probably just ended there.
yeah.
But no, yeah, I do prefer. Plus the the song over the end credits of Friday the 13th is proper funky, whereas the song over the end credits of Nightmare on Elm Street is just really shit 80s music.
No, they are. They could have both ended. I tell you what, even though you might never want to touch a Nightmare on Elm Street film again, you should watch Wes Craven's New Nightmare because he eventually goes back to the franchise again.
I really want to watch the first one again, and I've heard New Nightmare is good, but then the modern remakes aren't as good.
No, apparently that's pants. I've not seen that one.
I kind of want to watch Freddy versus Jason for shits and giggles.
I've seen that.
I've seen that when I was like college years.
Yeah.
But I can't really remember. I remember something in like a barn. I don't really remember. But I do want to go back and watch the first Nightmare, and I kind of want to go back and watch the first two Fridays as well.
Yeah. The first one's good. It's just not Jason, and then second one's meh. Fourth one's class. You should watch the fourth one. That's brilliant. That one.
Is it as good as Superman 4?
A little bit better. It's not got Christopher Reeve though, so I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I'm not watching it then.
We'll move on then. This is usually where we'll talk about like the lead character, but first, I feel like in these sorts of movies, the villain is the most important character. So I wanted to lead with that and go with like the slasher movie villain first. We've obviously got Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th Part 3 in his second ever appearance. His first with the mask. And then he's up against Freddy Krueger, who is one of the creepiest motherfuckers ever. And the thing with Freddy is there's only been one film where he wasn't played by Robert Englund. Like Jason has been. Yeah. You know what? Sorry.
Is that one of the more modern ones?
Yeah, the last one they did, it was someone different, but it's always before that it was always Robert Englund, whereas Jason has been played by like 10 different people at this point. But they're both iconic villains. Both two of, like we said earlier, two of the most iconic horror movie villains, certainly. So how did you score this?
Well, first of all, you said that he's only been played by 2 people, Robert Englund and this other guy. Well, that's not true. He was also played by groundskeeper Willie.
Yeah. In the Treehouse of Horror with his rake.
Yeah, well, that episode used to fucking creep me out. I know ends. I am a fan of both types of villains. Like I said, Pennywise is probably my favorite. So that part of it appeals to me with Freddy Krueger, but I much prefer the slow moving or just slasher. So I went 10-9 easy to Jason, just because I love those unstoppable forces. Like he just fucking doesn't stop, and I don't know how, because he walks slow all the fucking time, but he just disappears. And I don't know this. I know it's unreal and unbelievable, but there's just something about it that I just think is so much better. And that ability to be like, where you can focus on shots of feet of biker gangs, or why there was a fucking biker gang in the movie. Let's not. But but you can just focus on a shot of boots walking on the ground, and you immediately go, "Fuck, that's Jason." Or you can see a shoulder, and you go, "Fuck, that's Jason." And I don't know, man. I just think it's so much more intimidating than. And I think I probably would go with Freddy if I'd seen the first one, because by the sounds of it, the first Freddy is actually creepy, whereas this Freddy seems a bit like, doesn't really seem creepy to me at all. He just seems a bit. The only time I was like, "Oh fucking hell, that's grim," is when he rips his shirts and you can see all the fucking souls of people he's killed on his chest, which I think was really cool. But yeah, it didn't really appeal to me. It just seems a bit. I don't think slapstick's the right word, but I didn't take him seriously like I did with Jason. And I like I say, I like those lumbering threats and slashers more than creepy people.
Yeah, I agree. I went 10-9 in favor of Jason because, above all else, I think Jason Voorhees is my favorite horror movie like monster / villain. Aside from Ghostface, which it's hard to put up against because it's obviously there's certain versions of Ghostface that I prefer, but overall, I think Jason as a character and as the look, I think he's one of the most terrifying villains there is. I think what hurts Nightmare on Elm Street is, like you said, this one, it felt more like they wanted Freddy to be like wisecracking, like when he comes out with a couple of like puns almost. Like there's one, not to get into the kills yet, but there's one where he's like he drags into TV and he says, "Welcome to prime time, bitch." like he's so much more like intent on being like almost funny and quippy in this one. There's one where he says you don't believe in fairy tales and stuff, which I get is quite effective and it's entertaining, but I'm like you, I prefer my horror movie villains to just be straight up terrifying. And Jason Voorhees as the silent, like hulking figure that just brings fucking carnage. It's so effective. In the later ones, especially the 2009 remake they did, which is the last Friday the 13th, he runs. So like he chases them when they run, and that is really like intense to watch. But I do think I prefer the slow moving version that we got initially, like this.
Where he jogs after them a bit, but there's a weight behind it. Like he's
Yeah.
not like sprinting. It's like proper like Hulk. Like if he hit you, you'd be fucking broken. But yeah, I think I couldn't take Freddy seriously. But and even though when he takes his mask off, he does look like Sloth from Goonies. Like it's still like fucked up, and when he's walking around and you can see that he's got more chins than me, it's like it's just like there's clearly something about this guy that makes him, and maybe I would understand it more if I watched other movies, but coming in just this one I was just like, wow, yeah, there's clearly something there. Plus he gets his there's something really funny about it to me, that his most iconic look, the hockey mask, the one that's stuck throughout the entire franchise after this, the one that's everybody like Jason hockey mask, everybody knows it, comes from my boy Shelley, the fucking the absolute
We'll talk about him soon, Jesus.
The absolute idiot of the group that he's just constantly trying to wind people up. Maybe that's why I love him. And yeah, I don't know. This is something really funny to me, that his most iconic look comes from the comedy character.
Yeah, that is funny. I don't know if they intended at the time for it to become what it became, but they must have latched on quite quickly though, because every time after that, I feel like we've seen him with the mask, and it works. So why wouldn't you? But yeah, that was an easy one. I think I like Freddy, but I don't think he's as even the way I judge it is I watched Freddy versus Jason. I was rooting for Jason the entire fucking time. Let's go. Had to be done.
Genuinely, the way I tipped it in the end for me, because I do like both, but I was like, who did I play most as on Mortal Kombat? Jason.
Yeah, that goes without saying, because he's
Jason and Predator.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll move on then to this one's interesting, because we'll go with the best lead now. And I want to get your thoughts on this, because obviously the lead in Friday the 13th Part 3 is Chris, the girl who had kind of run into Jason in the past. Like, we hear some backstory.
Films, I'm guessing not.
She was never in any of the others. No, okay. They just shoehorned it in that she was just there once when he attacked, and that's how she came into contact with him. And for some reason, she came back. I don't know why you would if you'd seen him before, but this is where it's interesting, because in Nightmare on Elm Street, I want to know who you think is the lead. Is it Kirsten, the girl at the beginning, or is it Nancy Thompson? Because I feel like Nancy kind of is the one that favors the story, and she's got the more screen time, I think, and she's an icon from the past.
I think it's supposed to be Kirsty. Is that her name?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Dead.
Kirsten or Kristen?
I don't know. The blonde.
This is what I mean. We don't even know her name.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Very memorable. Mm-hmm. I'm going to ring Dan. But when Nancy comes into it, the story just becomes about her regardless. Like even when the kids do the thing, whatever they do, boring shit, it becomes about Nancy, and then Higgins in the girl. What's her first name? Kirsty Higgins. And I remember her last name.
Oh, I'm not sure.
But but there's also her. But I would say that she's the. Do you know what? Great sign of these lead characters. Do you know what I mean?
Well, this is the thing
neither of us can actually. I literally finished watching it an hour and a half ago.
No, I think the lead character is called Chris.
Chris.
I think she's Chris in Friday.
Pretty sure it's Chris Higgins.
Yeah, but the thing is with these 80s slashers is the characters really felt
the same.
Like they didn't really care. Like they never really gave them much depth. They felt like they were unimportant, and a lot of them were just like faceless people. That's why in the 80s especially, it was the emergence of these iconic villains, because people were going to watch them kill people, not for people to escape. And that's the same here, which is why I wanted to know whether he considered Nancy, because I think she is genuinely really, really good. I think she's one of the best screen queens we've got, because she did 3 Nightmare on Elm Street films in the end, and I think she's brilliant in all of them. I think she's wonderful in this film.
Okay.
But Kirsten is played by Patricia Arquette, who is obviously a wonderful actress who went on to do like True Romance and stuff. So whichever one you want to go with.
Oh, is it my turn?
No, it's me. But whichever one you want to go with, I'm giving them 10-9 over Chris Higgins anyway. Because I think Nancy's great. I think if it was Nancy, it could even be possibly a 10-8. But like you said, she's not the final girl. She's not the one that opens the film. So if it's going with Kristen, which is Patricia Arquette's character, I think it's difficult, but Chris was just a fucking dumbass. Like, she was annoying. Whereas I sympathise with Patricia Arquette's character, and it's Patricia Arquette. Like, at least it's a recognisable name. I couldn't even tell you the name of the actress that played Chris if my life depended on it. I couldn't even give you a first name.
So, you couldn't even give the first name of the character's name.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I went 10-9 in favour of A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, whether it's Chris.
I would say Nancy.
Would you?
Yeah, I would say, because as soon as Nancy's introduced, it's nothing else matters. It's really about Nancy and her story, I think.
That could change things then. There could be a 10-8. Could be a 10-8 on the cards. I'm doing it. 10-8. Nancy Thompson. Nancy Thompson gets a 10-8 because I really think she's great. And I think her showing up, as someone who'd watched the first one, obviously, before this, so it felt obviously a bit more impactful to me. Her showing up, I didn't expect, because with these sorts of films, she wasn't in the second one. And with these sorts of 80s films, they just recycle main characters. That it never really matters. There's not many horror franchises in the 80s where it's the same lead, like final girl. Jamie Lee Curtis did it twice with Halloween, but then didn't come back till the end of the 90s. So having Nancy come back and really use her experience in the past with Freddie and use it to her advantage and take charge and really take the fight to him, I thought it was brilliant. So yeah, 10-8. We've done it. We've got a 10-8.
You've not pulled a 10-8 out in a while.
I know. And I wasn't going to this time until you talked me into Nancy being the lead.
You didn't have to go 10-8. You could have still got 10-9.
No, when you said Nancy was the lead, I had to go 10-8. Because that Chris is fucking random as hell, but Nancy's big deal.
Well, then you're really not going to like me, because Nancy fucking grated on me so much.
Oh,
and
my God.
Maybe I would have liked her more if I already had a connection from the first one. But my God, every word that came... I mean, not much better with Chris, but she fucking grated on me. Every single word that came out of her mouth. And she just was, I don't know, there's just something about her that was like, every time you're on screen, I want to smash my head into the coffee table. Like, in the nicest way.
You know?
You're just so fucking... I don't know. But yeah, just didn't really do it for me. And for somebody who's experienced Freddie before and knows all about him, and this is me assuming, but assumes she knows some way to defeat him, it took a lot for her to then, in the end, not defeat him. It was still the fucking random ass doctor love interest. And then she still fucking died.
Yeah, but that was a nice surprise.
What, that she died?
Yeah, don't think anyone saw that coming.
I will admit that was a good surprise that she died.
Yeah, because obviously her dad had just died, and it felt like that was actually a real moment. And they felt, because they had a broken relationship, it felt like they were actually getting that bond as he was going, and then it wasn't even him. Fucking heartbreaking.
No, I will admit that bit was good, because it was a nice twist for Freddie. But I was a little bit relieved when she died, I'm not gonna lie. I was like, well, please don't let this be a fucking fake out.
So can we just get this on record? You hate Nancy, but you liked Shelley.
Right. Fuck, don't even get me. Right, can we wait until we get to supporting cast?
Yeah. I think there's going to be some conversations there.
Chris, I like at the end of the day, I was like, they're both shit. And they're both really winding me up. But I went with who entertained me the most. And there's a bit for me, it felt like a good 10 minutes, but I'm sure it's only like 30 seconds, where Chris is just trying to close windows. It's dead windy, and she's just trying to close windows. And it's like she closes one and then another one opens. So she runs over and closes it. And I genuinely was expecting the window to blow open. And then she goes and hides, and then somebody fucking gets thrown through the window. And she just fucking screams, and then goes and stands with the dead body. And just, why would you not just fucking run? So she
This is an idiot.
yeah, and that's why I'm giving her the 10. One, one because she gave me more entertainment value, because yeah, she fucking did. Two, she actually defeated the villain, and not in just like in the end, she took she gave him an axe to the head. But while he was knocked out, she had the balls to stay there and wrap a fucking rope around his neck and kick him off. That's got some balls. What did fucking Nancy do? Get fucking
She beat Freddy Krueger once already.
Yeah, she got stabbed though, didn't she?
Yeah. She has a 50% success rate.
Mine's got 100%. So
yeah, very true.
Twice technically,
but Nancy came back. Never saw Chris again.
Well, I don't know that. I'm just judging the film I'm watching, man. So in the end, I had to get. I know a certain somebody who's probably watching that's gonna be like, "Fuck's sake!" But I had to go down was who was hottest, and Chris was hottest, 100%. There was points at the end. Do you know when she's telling the story, and I was pissing myself the entire time she's telling the story, because she's like looked off into the distance. And you can tell this poor young actress is trying her hardest to be like, "This is my moment. This is where I do my big backstory." And she looks fucking stupid. But
yeah,
the entire time I was just thinking, "You're gorgeous."
She must have thought this is what they're going to show on Oscar highlights reel.
Yeah, this is my Oscar highlight reel. I just kept thinking, "Oh my god, yes, you 10 out of 10, no complaints."
So if you don't like Nancy, maybe you shouldn't watch the first Freddy Krueger movie or New Nightmare, because they're the only ones she's in.
Oh, is she in that one as well?
But A New Nightmare is actually, it's quite meta. It was like Wes Craven's film before Scream, where it's actually about the actors that played the characters. So it's about Heather Langenkamp, who plays Nancy, and how after doing these Freddy movies, Freddy Krueger in real life starts hunting them down.
Oh, that's cool.
Like the actor that plays Freddy, Robert Englund's in the film as himself, but then he's also in it as Freddy.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite one.
I watched the first one, because I think if she's a teenage victim, it's easier to, and I don't know how to explain the logic, but it's easier to put up with that kind of nails on a chalkboard kind of thing, because that's the role they're supposed to be playing.
Yeah.
I feel like she was supposed to be the hero, or she was supposed to be the knowledgeable one, and she just came off as thick. Whereas
fucking shots fired at Nancy Thompson.
Whereas Chris, she's not supposed to be anything. She's just thick. And I love it for it. She's stupid. She runs up. She sees the fucking bath overflowing. She sees it overflowing with blood. She sees the fucking bloody body in there, picks up the jumper and goes, "Oh, fuck, that's blood. Let's start running."
But I never actually got you scored. Was that a 10-9 in favour of Kristen, yeah?
I might go 10-8, you know.
Are you doing it?
No, I'm not. I'm not you. I'm not going with 10-9. I don't pull out 10-8. I pull a 10-10, but I won't pull a 10-8.
Yeah.
I've got
That's surprising for a character you love.
I still won't do it. I've got morals.
We'll move on then to the supporting cast, because this is the one we've got some things to talk about. So you get to go first this time. I don't really know anyone's name from the supporting cast of Friday the 13th. I think there's Shelley.
That's the only one I care about.
Yeah, I think the love interest was called Rick, because I think Chris shouts it 150 times.
Yeah.
But that's the thing with it, like I said, these 80s movies, the cast really don't seem to matter, and there's not much time spent giving any of them any semblance of a personality.
I can only remember one of the names from. Well, I suppose if you count in Kirsten.
Yeah.
I can only remember Kincaid. I can't even remember the dad's name.
Kincaid.
I can't remember fucking the doctor's name. I can't remember Larry Fishburne's name.
Yeah, that was weird, wasn't it? When he just showed up as the orderly guy.
Yeah,
he was going by Larry at that point.
And I was like, "Oh, Larry Fishburne." I'm guessing at this point Lawrence Fishburne was already famous, and they didn't want to get him confused. And I was like, "No, that's just fucking Lawrence Fishburne."
Yeah, it's weird because they did this, and like literally like 3-4 years later, he's in Boys in the Hood, one of the most important fucking films of the night. It's like, how do you make that jump? But yeah, we got Larry Fishburne.
What film's Lawrence Fishburne in where he lied about his age to get in it? Is it Platoon or
I think so, yeah. Oh wait, is it Apocalypse Now?
Oh yeah, it might be, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I actually remember hearing about that because I listened to a podcast about it after I watched that film, and I think that was it. Yeah, but yeah, star-studded cast. We got Larry Fishburne.
And that's it.
Yeah, but yeah, neither film's really got too much memorable characters. So, how did you score it? Was it 10-9 solid for Shelley?
Yeah, 100%. I'm not even lying. I went 10-9 for Friday because I struggle with teenage actors, especially if they're poor. Like, I think you've got it. It's difficult because obviously you're just starting a career, and if it's starting a new career in a B movie as well, it's going to be even worse. But they all just like, oh, that girl when she's like, in my dreams I'm pretty and cool or badass or whatever she says. I'm just like, oh, shut the fuck up, love. You know, like what part of you thinks giant mohawk equals that? Equals you don't look badass, look a twat. I'm not gonna lie. Let me just rip into people first before I talk about what I like. Because it's way more that I can rip into than what I like. But I like it's like I'm pretty and badass, and I'm a level 12 mage, and I can do magic in my dreams. And Kirsten's like, I can do a cartwheel. And he's like, I could walk, and the other guy can fucking bends a chair, which I think on cheap metal most people can do.
But yeah, that didn't look that impressive to me.
It genuinely looked like one of those primary school chairs that you can.
And he still struggled.
Yeah, he still paper mache chair, and he's proper struggling. It just really made me pissed that Kirsten's like, I can do a flip. It clearly goes from like a 45-year-old man in a blonde wig, and then she does that, and it's her again.
Yeah, I love when stuff do that, but it's so clearly not them.
But yeah, none of them. Kincaid was great just because he was so over the top. Like clearly, I don't know if Wes Craven's ever been near the streets, but I imagine that's what he imagined the streets are. And I'm saying the streets like that because it's quite clearly not the street. And it's like the way he talks and the way he acts, it's so over the top. It's like something you'd see on fucking a sitcom. It's so over the top that I just had to love Kincaid. But everybody else, fuck me. What a bunch of idiots.
What about Larry Fishburne?
No, I actually quite like Larry Fishburne. I'm not gonna lie, because he was just Larry Fishburne. He's not quite promoted himself to Lawrence yet, but he was. I mean, you know, he's my Perry White, so he. But yeah, everybody else, like the dad and the doctor, when they're in the bar. And he's like, "Oh, I'll meet you outside." He walks up to him, just grabs him and chucks him against the wall. Like this, you look like the most least threatening person ever. And that if this was any other script, the dad would have beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And then there's like his Freddie's mum that's just there.
That was a really random way to take the story, I thought.
Really strange.
And that she was a ghost the whole time.
Yeah, I don't know. So fucking weird. The animatronic, not animatronic, the stop motion skeleton had more motion and acting in it than most of the kids. So, but then on the flip side, you've got bloody Friday the 13th, where literally all of them are really is Rick supposed to be, how old's Rick supposed to be?
Yeah, he looks like 40.
Yeah, I would say 50 odd. He's like, but he's in like a polo t-shirt pretending to be like 18.
Yeah, and all he keeps talking about is how his missus won't fucking sleep with him. It's like, Jesus Christ, man, talk about pressuring.
Calm down. Yeah. Like, had you not seen him for like a year or something? The first thing he does is grab her and kiss her, and then just keeps trying to grab her. I'm like,
yeah, and he was like, we need to set aside 3 hours a day at 1 a.m. Well, Jesus Christ, what's this? Medieval times.
I was getting Operation U-Tree vibes, if I'm being honest.
But that's the cast you went with, is it?
Yeah, it is, because let me get to him. I'm building up to him, right? he had the two horn dogs in the hammock. That's like, how are we gonna do it? It was like, oh, was it me or was it you or was it the hammock? It's like, fucking, yeah, the hammock really improves your sex life. And then then you got the fucking biker gang, which is the least biker gang. It's like a biker gang from Sesame Street.
Yeah, they're not very convincing.
They were set and like this hardcore biker girl is just swinging on the rope.
Yeah, it was really, I don't know why they included those guys.
So
Maybe it's just to give Shelley his moment of heroism.
Speaking of, what a guy. What a guy. I was genuinely like, fuck it, this is the killing started already. This is fast. Really random, but really fast. And he's just got a fake knife stuck in his head. And we've got to give him credit. He got me. He made me believe that he'd been killed more than any of Jason's jump scares.
Hey, he's a very talented makeup artist as well to do all that to himself.
But especially at the end. I love it at the end when he's laying there dead and she's like, great makeup, Shelley. I'm like, well, you got it on yourself there, pal.
It's the boy who cried wolf, isn't it?
Also, not to put too fine a point on it, as we've already said, he is the reason Jason's got his iconic look. So yes, I did go 10-9 for Friday.
Just for Shelley.
Because do you know who he reminds me of? And I know it's a show we shouldn't really talk about anymore because every single actor in it turns out to be problematic. But it reminds me of Donna's dad from that 70s show. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah, it is like Bob. Yeah.
Yeah. Every time I was like, for ages, I was like, who is it? He reminds me of. And finally it clicked and I had to Google it. I was like, is it the same person? And it's not. But I was like, surely it's the same fucking person.
Yeah, he does have a lot of Bob vibe about him.
Yeah, he does.
Fucking Bob, I hate that guy. Red used to terrorize that motherfucker. I used to love that show.
Don't know if I'd go back and watch it though.
No, apparently they're old. Well, not Eric Foreman. Topher Grace is normal.
No, he's still the star.
I haven't even given my score, have I?
No,
I went on the complete opposite for the same reason. I went 10-9 in favour of Nightmare for my guy Kincaid. Can I just say one of his quotes? "Where you at, you burnt face pussy?" That is one of the fucking coldest lines in cinema history. Is all I'm saying.
Is that the one? Is that when he shouts really loudly?
Yeah, he's like burnt face pussy. I think he's funny as hell, man. He is so fucking funny. But he is a straight up terrible actor. Like, it's so over the top and it's not convincing in the slightest. But
you were like I said, you weren't convinced when he was bending the chair.
That guy struggled more than I think most normal people would struggle. But yeah, I think also because the focus is on the entire group for a while, I think a lot of them get a lot more to do than people that show up and just immediately get killed in Friday the 13th. So, and also I think Shelley's one of the worst fucking characters I've ever seen in my entire life. The guy's a real woe is me little bitch.
I loved him. I love that
Kincaid would have whooped Shelley in a fight, let me tell you.
He never gave up on his dreams of touching a woman.
I know, yeah. No matter how many times he got rebuffed. But yeah, he did bring the mask. I got to give him credit for that.
It did make me laugh when he was like, they've gone too far this time and it slightly ran over one of their wheels.
Yeah. And then he thought he really showed them. Oh, he showed them, did you? I'm not sure he did, pal.
Oh.
But yeah, I like the cast of Nightmare. I think, like I said, Patricia Arquette, we're counting her as supporting, so I'm including her because she went on to have a really good career in things like I said, True Romance was one of my favourite films. But that was written by Quentin Tarantino. I think it's fucking brilliant. And like I said, technically, I couldn't name you a single supporting character in Friday the 13th apart from Shelley, where I've got
Rick,
Kincaid, Kristen, Larry Fishburne. That's three.
That's not his name. That's his actor's name. That's his actor's pseudonym name.
The mute guy, I remember the mute guy, the guy that didn't speak, he was called Joey. I know that.
Oh no, I did like Joey. Joey was cool.
Yeah. I liked that him speaking in the dream world was like that big moment. I liked that.
Yeah. And
like because of where they were, I think those kids got a little bit more time to shine. Whereas some of the Friday ones, they were like, "We'll show up, get naked, and die."
Perfect.
Which
I mean,
That's what you want to do. It's what you want to do. But we see that in every Friday movie.
I was expecting more from these movies. I've been led to believe by films like X that they and Cabin in the Woods that they all get naked all the time, and there was hardly any in it.
Yeah, that one was quite tame by the franchise's standards, I think.
Great, the one that you forced me to watch.
But yeah, I went 10-9.
Oh, okay, you're solid in your 10-9. I just wanted to ask you if you might want to change your decision, but I don't really remember anybody in Nightmare on Elm Street yo-yoing a yo-yo to camera.
Like that's very true. That's very true. But
I like the bit where he hits her on the face with the yo-yo, and then she goes, "Oh, that was so close." I'm like, "No, he just fucking hit you."
Yeah, that was like, no, we ain't shooting again. Just fucking go with it. But Larry Fishburne, that's enough.
Shally.
Yeah. Also,
did your film Nightmare on Elm Street didn't have Sloth from Goonies in it?
That's very true. That's very true. I don't know how we're calling it my film. I've always preferred Friday the 13th. I'm calling it as it is.
You're back in Kincaid. You're back in that horse.
I'm backing the guy that said the phrase "burnt face pussy." That
I'm going to say it here because I've just remembered it, and I don't know where else we can fit it in anywhere. But when you rewatch Friday the 13th, when they got in the car after going to the shop and annoying the bikers, when they closed the door, did you see the entire crew, the camera crew and sound crew, in the window?
No.
I was like, the bikers come, and I was like, when the car went up, I was like, was that the crew? So I had to rewind. I was like, literally just straight up. Is it about 4 or 5 people? There's one guy doing like this.
That's incredible. 80s slasher movies were really just a fucking cesspit of quality. There was not much going on there. They were cheap to make though, and they made money. We'll move on then to the crux of all of these sorts of films, and it's the kills. Especially as the 80s went along, people tuned in more for those sorts of things, and especially with villains like Freddy and Jason. People wanted to see how they'd kill different people off. And I like the kills in both of these movies for very different reasons. I think the Jason Voorhees stuff in Friday Part 3 is great because it's all 3D. Like, a lot of it is so 3D based. Like, the way he kills the girl that was with Shelley with the, like, harpoon to the face and it shoots at the camera, or the way, straight in the eye. That's good. I think that looked quite good for the time as well. Or the pitchfork to the biker guy as it comes towards the camera. I
mean, it's very obvious. Like, you can even see it a few times whenever they're doing something 3D. You can tell that they look to the camera quite a lot to like be making sure that, like, with the guy with the pitchfork, I noticed he was like this, and then he went, "Oh, there it is."
Yeah, and he moves like the stick towards it. But yeah, I think a few of them are quite good. Like the girl in the hammock, which it's the most ridiculous thing in the world. When the blood starts falling on her, she's like, "Where's that coming from? Where do you fucking think it's falling from above? It's not coming from below, is it?" Like, she's like, "Oh, where's that? Where's it dropped from?"
Everybody in that movie is stupid.
Yeah, very stupid.
Both movies, but I mean, it was more entertaining in Friday the 13th.
I do like that bit though when she notices the corpse above him, but before she gets a chance to like react, he comes up from underneath, which is a cool callback to the first Friday movie, when something similar happens to a noticeable name in that one. I just love like all the 3D effects for it, even like Rick, the love interest, when he like squeezes his head and the eye pops towards the camera.
No, that's what I was thinking of, because you can quite clearly see the wire where you can see that it's being out, but I still loved it. It was so, and it was the like doing this, and then it cut to Jason, it cut back, and it's like a plasticine.
Yeah, I quite like that. And then the Nightmare on Elm Street ones, I think because it's the dream world and it's Freddy, he gets to be a bit more creative with it, like the injecting all of the different needles into together at the same time. I think it's fucking brilliant.
Little suckers on the arms.
Yeah, I think that was really well done. I think using the guy as if he was a puppet by pulling on his veins, I think they are, and he leads him up to the tower before cutting him and he falls to his death. That was well done. The girl that wants to be on TV, so he literally pulls her into a TV and electrocutes her.
the guy in the wheelchair is the biggest, is the thing that he uses to try and kill him, a killer wheelchair.
Yeah. And then what does he say? Something like, I don't believe in fairy tales to him. He just like fucking stabs him in the chest or something like that.
Yeah.
What else was there? There was Nancy when we thought her dad was back, and then she just got fucking stabbed up. That was actually probably the most tame death. But I think because of how creative they get with the Freddy ones, I actually went 10-9 in favour of Nightmare on Elm Street, because while I think the 3D gimmick is really fucking funny and it's so obvious, a lot of the kills don't feel that creative. Whereas stuff like all these different needles into the body, or the vein stuff, I thought was like, it made me cringe. Like even just thinking of that as he's walking with his arms out like this, it was awful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went 10-9 in favor of that because I think it was really creative and it's not something you see anywhere else.
Yeah, and I think I do agree with you, and it probably will favour in another category we've got coming up. But in terms of kills themselves, like I said before, I prefer the brutality of it all. So even though it looked a bit shit, I like the whole just fucking grabbing his head and just popping it. And when she looks up from the blood and the guy is just fucked up on the rafters, it just looks like a slab of meat that's been ripped in half. And when he pushes the knife through her throat, like probably one of the better effects in the movie, but it looked really good to the point I was like, ugh! Like you can see the knife kind of push out the skin and the blood kind of dribble out as well, and like the harpoon and all the biker stuff as well. Like it was actually a really good shot, and I bet it. I was like, how did they do that? And then realized it's probably really fucking easy. But the girl biker whose name I can't remember, it was a really stupid name.
Fox.
Yeah. yeah, it fucking is. I hate these fucking movies, man. She was pinned to the barn with a rake, and then it had like the shot of it like go down, so you saw the entire body that she was hanging. And I bet for the time that was like, fuck, how did they do that kind of thing? And I think all really good. Even like the lead, well, I guess he was the lead biker, like somehow survived and just was sleeping for like 4 hours or something, turned up, and then it was a really quick shot of like, and his hand came off. And I do love all the Freddy stuff, and that will win the next category, I promise you, because of how creative it is. But I went 10-9 because I much prefer brutality. Like I like the like Michael Myers, and that's why I like a lot of the Scream stuff, because it's just brutal. And that's why I went, because the reason I went for Jason on the villain category, because I like that slow hulking, menacing, unstoppable thing, and he brought that with. He didn't just pop his head like a grape; he fucking threw him through a window as well, and just fucking fucked him up. And I know he's not technically not a death; he escaped the death, but when he's hanging there, he just fucking lifts himself up. Absolutely fucking loved it. So, and then even the axe to the head, I thought was really, really cool. So yeah, that's why I went Friday the 13th. I do really like the kills in Nightmare on Elm Street, but they made me laugh more than it made me go, oh, that was a cool kill. So a lot of them made me chuckle more than they did think, oh no, that's a bit brutal. But so yeah.
Cool.
Saying that, the next category. So yeah, 10-9 to Friday on that. The next category we said it was special effects, and yeah, Friday Nightmare on Elm Street 100% wins that. The fucking puppet 10. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, but the puppet strings on that one, oh fucking hell.
Yeah, that shit looks great. Like it was so like effective. It made me cringe watching it.
It wasn't the hands for me, it was the feet.
The feet, yeah.
Like ripped all the way up to the toes, and I'm like, oh, because I don't like I can stand any kind of gore. I can watch anything. But the one thing I don't like is, in movies when they slice the back of the ankle on that tendon, oh, it gets me every time. And for some reason, seeing the fucking front of the feet ripped out and having the innards used as puppet strings really fucking got to me too. Even though it looked somewhat cheap, fuck me, effective.
Yeah, it's like, I know it's obviously clearly not the same, but you know when like, I don't know if you ever do, you had like the little bits of skin and you'd peel it and it'd pull back a bit too much.
Look at that. Oh, fuck, disgusting.
And like it appealed back a little bit too much. That's what it felt like. It felt like it was horrible. But that was great. And I think all the different things Freddy does requires like the special effects, and it requires that sort of creativity. So yeah, I went 10-9 in favor of Nightmare on Elm Street again there, because even the stuff like you said with the skeleton, like stuff like that, I just love it. There's a certain charm to that sort of thing for me.
We talked about it in the Back to the Future episode, didn't we? Where like that hand-drawn electricity, that it just does something for me that modern day CGI like lightning and stuff can't do. It's just something about it's like a magical quality to it.
Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah, that was probably the easiest one we've got, because like some of the kills in Friday are good and they look decent. Like I do like the shot with the harping through the eye. I think that looks decent. The arm I thought looked quite good when he cuts the guy's arm off.
Yeah. And of course, you've got Shelley's fantastic. Oh, actually, no. Maybe I'll go 10-9 for Friday, because Shelley's special effects is actually really fucking good.
Shelley's got better than the entire fucking production team.
But no, but Freddy's got the. There's the bit when he comes out of the telly and it's like all like pulled out, and then it vacuums onto his face.
Yeah.
But then I don't know if it's an animatronic or what, but he's still acting. It's like, no, that's still fucking Freddy. He's not just when he's the giant penis worm eating Kirsten. Like, but then he sees Nancy and realizes it's Nancy. Like, it's not just like any old puppet. It's not clearly not just a basic puppet. They put some real effort into it, and he puts like this. He has this like, oh fuck, it's you kind of look on his face. What are you doing here? Shit, kind of look.
Yeah.
And
it was good. I also like when he's turned to be that nurse with Joey, and he fucking does the tongue thing, and it like gets attached, and then he spits like the two different tongues out, like wrap his arms around the bars. Like, it takes a lot of work to be able to come up with the sort of stuff that you have to have in a Nightmare on Elm Street film, and I think they do a good job with it.
I tell you, the one thing I was disappointed with, and I don't know if it's because my modern brain has been taught to look for things like that, but when he was with the nurse and he was laying on the bed and she was in her underwear, which looked disgusting, absolutely. Who'd want to watch that? Absolutely disgusting. Pervert. I was half expecting it to turn around, still have the wig on and everything, but have Freddy's face. And I was really expecting it. But when she just turned around and it was just him in his jumper and his hat again, I was a little bit disappointed in that. I wanted some like little creepy faces on the nipples or something. But
that would have been fucking terrifying.
Outside of that, everything I looked ready. Like there's a bit in it when there's like the floating door, and then they open the floating door, and it's a really simple trick, but it just looks really, really effective. And actually, one of the highlights of Nightmare on Elm Street was all the special effects, like even I mean, to an entertaining value, even the little blonde girl at the beginning when she's being carried around and quite clearly not her, like still entertaining, like really, really good. And I think it grabbed me immediately when the tap handle just kind of grew out and then went around her arm. Just a bit of a side note, just before we started the episode, I text Dan, who recommended these films for us to watch, saying, I've been conned into watching some right shit here. And he texted me back just now saying, I hate you right now.
At least Dan's got taste. These are quality movies.
No, he does not watch quality movies.
I'm going to go back and check on Letterboxd once he's done to see what he's actually rated these films, because I imagine they've got to be 5 stars on Dan's level.
This is his third episode in a row with a shout out.
And he's going to get the right ego.
We should. I think I asked him if he wanted to be on the episode. I don't want to hear my voice.
Oh, bless him. Yeah, we'll move on then to, because I think we both said 10-9 there, right? I mean, it was no contest.
I mean, it's the stuff in. I know. I think obviously Friday's a bit older.
Yeah, I think so. I think Nightmare 3 was maybe like 87. I think Friday 3 was like 84.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely no competition. It still looked good, but no competition at all.
Yeah. We'll move on then to the setting of both movies, because they both take place in very distinct locations. I mean, it's hard with the Nightmare one, because you could say the location is the mental asylum. You could say the actual dream world. Whereas Friday the 13th is Crystal Lake, as it is in every single Friday movie, apart from Jason Takes Manhattan, where it spends about 25 minutes in New York.
Is there actually film called Jason Takes Manhattan. That is like Muppets.
It's the 8th Friday the 13th movie. Jason Takes Manhattan. He spends most of the time on a cruise ship, but by the end of it, he's in New York, causing havoc.
Oh, what?
Get it
I don't want
watched.
to watch it, but I feel like I need to watch it.
It's fucking entertaining.
I need to know which came first, Jason Takes Manhattan or Muppets Take Manhattan. I need to know because they've
When
got
was
to.
Muppets Take Manhattan?
Don't know, and I'm gonna have to find out. I'm sorry to be
I
on my
think
phone. Okay,
Jason Takes Manhattan was in the 80s, I believe. So I
was
imagine that probably came first.
So that was a 1989 film. Fucking hell. Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. So that was 1989, year I was born. Muppets Take. 1984. That's 5 years before. They've got to have known. They've got to have known. Oh,
Probably.
God. That's
funny.
Sorry. Yeah.
That's funny. But yeah, like 11 of the oh wait, no, technically another one takes place in space actually. So
oh yeah, Jason X. I've
yeah,
watched a little bit of Jason X actually.
That one's in space. So out of the 12, maybe 10 take place in Crystal Lake then. So yeah, you got Crystal Lake. Would you count the setting as the mental hospital or the dream world then for
I don't care anymore.
Huh?
I don't care anymore. The Muppets Jason thing has broken me. I can't even.
Yeah, that film's straight garbage as well.
What is?
Jason Takes Manhattan.
Talk about Muppets, and I was about to. Did you see how my tone changed?
That woke you up.
I'm just imagining loads of people in the executive offices being like, we're calling it Jason Takes Manhattan, and one guy being like Muppets. He was like, I thought I heard that name somewhere. No, it'll be fine. Maybe you'll put two and two together.
Yeah, that's right.
Fozzie Bear with a hockey mask walking around Manhattan. Fucking hell, you've broken me. This episode's breaking me. I think do you think I need to go into the mental asylum? I would class the mental asylum as the main location.
Yeah. So which way did you go then? Which one did you vote for?
I went with the mental asylum because it is more interesting. It sets up a little bit more interesting, a little bit more of the interesting story of, that they having to, like I said before, they're having to battle people thinking they're crazy versus Freddy as well. And I just think mental asylums are always creepy, no matter what. It's that stale, and I think that sterile environment which really helps the dream world as well. Because when the dream world looks strange and creepy and whatever, it really contrasts to just the plain white walls and all that kind of stuff. So, and Crystal Lake's just a cabin in the woods, which we've seen. There's nothing interesting. There's nothing unique about it. Like even the only other locations really to go to is the shop, which is at the same shop where the people got murdered at the beginning. I
don't think so.
Because that had a really quick turnaround of staff, if not.
Yeah, they're wasting no time. That'd be like, where one of us go, we need someone new. A certain manager once told me in a job that if I was to pass, my job would be filled very quickly.
I know what you're talking about. I've already replaced you. How can I replace 2 shifts a week?
Oh yeah, not this personality.
No, not that personality at all. But yeah, it's pretty bland. It's pretty boring, and I mean, I guess at the time that's what people wanted to see. They don't. It doesn't really matter about the location of those kind of movies. It's more about the kills, and it's easy to do. It was probably cheap. It was probably easy to film. Also, it's always dark, and there's always a lot of obstructions, so it makes sense. But it's just not as interesting in the mental asylum, where you can have those story beats that attach to the location. And it's not just the mental asylum. Obviously, they go to the lost wing of the mental asylum, where you find out a very dark backstory about Freddy, which I didn't know that's how he was born, but that was very very shocking to find out. I was like, fucking hell. And then when I realized it was the nun that was the woman, I was like, oh shit. So yeah, I think the bar that they go to that's supposed to be like dead seedy, but it's really nice actually. It looks like a really nice bar to go to. in the junkyard that's quite clearly a set. But yeah, I think the mental asylum is definitely much better for many reasons, but mainly from a story perspective, loads better.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like you said, you touched on Crystal Lake. While they use it a lot in Friday the 13th franchise, and it's kind of become iconic for that, it's also a setting that seems to be in almost every slasher in the time. It's mocked in Cabin in the Woods. Like I said, a cabin in the woods is the most stereotypical cliche setting for a horror movie. And it's because it worked. Like, don't get me wrong, I could watch a different horror movie every single day set around a cabin in the woods. Like, something about that seclusion and that isolation that I think really works. And being surrounded by the trees, like anyone can come from anywhere, and I think it works in that sense. But yeah, this the mental asylum, it's something different, it's unique. Like I said, when in comparison to the first couple of Freddy movies, it completely twists everything on its head. And it offers a different like perspective, and seeing the kids struggle in there and not even have like the freedom, because usually in these movies it's about these teens or these young adults dealing with these things in their own place, but these kids are like almost prisoners in this place as well. And then you add that with the dream world and all the different impressive ways they make the most of that, and like some of the visuals in there, I just think it's brilliant. Yeah, it feels bad this because I've gone against Friday the 13th a lot, and as a whole franchise, I prefer that so much more to Nightmare on Elm Street. But it's hard to really go against the mental asylum here.
Yeah, I mean, you did say that it's not as like the forest is a bit cliche, where the mental asylum's pretty unique, whereas pretty much every horror series at one point shows a mental asylum. We get to a mental asylum a lot in horror movies, but it still feels unique. I think that's the important distinction. That you can do more unique things with the mental asylum using the same kind of beats, but the forest is always just going to be a forest. So yeah, I went 10-9 Freddy, 100%.
Yeah, I think that it's a no-brainer again. There's been a couple there in a row where we've agreed too quickly. I think no debating whatsoever.
Every week, do you know what? You got to stop pretending that you don't agree with me, because it's boring now. Just stop pretending.
To be fair, our scores are probably going to look very different here overall, because I'm looking at mine and I've been adding up yours quietly at the side, and there's some differences. So we'll end it then with the legacy of both movies, which is hard for you to really judge because you don't really know much about them. So I can't wait to see how you scored it.
Yep. Okay. Am I the one to start off this?
No, I'll go first because you just did the setting. No beating around the bush. I went 10-9 in favour of Dream Warriors because, like I said to you off camera before, and I said it here, it's regarded as one of the best Nightmare on Elm Street movies. It was a complete twist on the first one, and people remember it fondly because of that. Whereas Friday the 13th Part 3 gave us the mask, but no one really remembers too much else about it. Shelley's been lost to time, I hate to tell you. No one remembers Shelley.
That's offensive.
And I wouldn't even say that's regarded as one of the top 2, maybe even 3 Friday the 13th movies. So
I fail to believe that out of the fucking 12, out of what you've told me with this series go. I mean, he goes to space.
Yeah, time travels, kind of.
Does he actually time travel?
Well, he gets frozen in like some weird carbonite thing, and then he gets defrosted thousands of years later in space.
I feel like I need to watch him.
Yeah, that one's wild because some woman gets her head put in like, what's it called, that carbonite stuff?
Oh, liquid nitrogen.
That's the one.
I think I've seen this movie because she gets fully frozen and smashed to bits, doesn't she? And
yeah, he smashes her head.
A bit like on the spaceship that's like a forest. They've got it like, they make it look like a forest or something.
That's the beginning of it, yeah. That's how they capture him. Because then he goes to get this one girl and FBI come out.
Oh, I feel like I need to watch him. I definitely need to watch Jason Takes Manhattan.
Yeah, that one's funny.
I can't believe you that you're saying it's not even this. It can't even be top 3. Surely not.
Maybe it's top 3. It's not first though. That's number 4th in my opinion.
Okay.
That's got Crispin Glover in and Corey Feldman.
Oh, now I'm seeing why you think it's best.
Star-studded cast. But yeah, I went 10-9 in favour of Dream Warriors because, like I said, it is quite looked back at really fondly by the majority of the fan base.
How? The reason I keep doing this, for God's sake, every time we say Dream Warriors, is because I keep forgetting it's called Dream Warriors. What a fucking stupid name.
No, it's a good name. The Warriors in the Dreams.
They
What
don't
more do you
win.
want from them?
They don't even fight. The guy learns magic and he's shit.
Well, he's only just late, hasn't he? Harry Potter weren't good on day one.
Yeah, but you knew Leviosa, not Leviosa.
Only because Hermione was there showing him how it's done.
Yeah, that's true. He didn't have somebody who looked hot and had knives.
No, unfortunately not.
I honestly can't score it because I know very little of both characters. I know enough about Jason to know that the hockey mask was iconic. So you telling me that he wasn't even in the well, technically he is in the first one as a dead body at the end, but I think, yeah. Doesn't he jump up in the water at the end of the first one? So,
yeah. So what we see with the mum at the end of this one, it was like a kid version of Jason at the end of the first one.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know how he was a kid when he came out of the water, and then he aged like fucking 13 years by the time the next film came out.
Fucking horror movies, man, it does it to you.
What a genre. We love it.
Yeah, I know the hockey masks, and I know the because it's a cool fucking sound. And as much I know just as much. I expect, like I say, I expected Freddy Krueger to be full on Pennywise, like warping reality, which is kind of what he does. So I can't very fairly score either of. I nearly said scare either of them. Good pun.
I don't think you can do that either.
Score either of them is what I meant. So I just went with my gut and said Nightmare on Elm Street because that's the one I've heard about the most. And I love that episode of The Simpsons. So that is why it got a 10-9 for me.
I mean, it's as good as reason as any, I think.
I mean, I preferred the version in The Simpsons. That episode, not to go on a tangent, like I said earlier, genuinely freaked me out. I genuinely was scared of it as a kid.
Yeah, the Groundskeeper Willie one was really good. I think a lot of those early Treehouse of Horror ones were actually quite creepy, though.
Yeah, they're not now. They're just, I think it's expected for them to try and be a bit more ballsy and a bit more gross, and it hasn't got the right feel. Like, they're not creepy. And the original ones are fucking creepy. I love watching them. It's Treehouse of Horror season soon.
Yeah, I'm going to watch well, technically it is now, isn't it? In your skeleton thing, isn't it? October now.
Yes, Treehouse of Horror now.
But yeah, I like the one where Ned Flanders becomes a werewolf.
Yeah, that's a dead good one.
That's a good one. I like that.
Obviously, there's a classic where Homer goes into a 3D world, which I still think is pretty creepy.
Yeah, that was good. And I like when he lands in like the real world at the end, doesn't he?
I like some of the more modern ones. I like the Harry Potter rip-off one. I like the Pierce Brosnan house one. That's great.
Not seen that one.
Well, where they get like a Hal from Space Odyssey, and it's like Pierce Brosnan voices a robot house and like falls in love with Marge and tries to kill Homer.
I've not seen that one. That sounds good though. Wasn't the one where the toy that they got tried to kill the kids?
Oh, Krusty.
Yeah. It was a Krusty toy.
And Bart's evil twin. It turns out that Bart's the evil twin.
Yeah.
You go.
That was good.
Anyway, off topic, but yeah.
Treehouse of Horror, great.
Dan, if you're listening, huge horror. Our friend Dan, who's a huge horror fan, if you're listening, I am scoring this because of The Simpsons. Fuck you.
Yeah, so that brings us to an end of a quite eventful cinema showdown then. Probably, hopefully, the one that you enjoyed the least. Like, hopefully, we never have two movies again where you have such a disdain for both like you do.
No, yeah, okay. I was going to say, no, they weren't that bad. They were.
Fucking win.
I was entertained. No, Friday entertained me more than Nightmare did. I've still had fun here. I think it's more entertaining for me doing this because I was disdain for him. I do think you've broken me. Definitely you have broken me. Finally.
Got it in just as I was on my way out.
Yeah. But no, yeah. Never again. I'm looking forward more to next week.
Yeah, definitely a surge in quality with the next episodes. But I've got the scores here then as we end another CineMatch showdown. And I ain't gonna lie, you actually had it bang on tied, which is surprising because you seem to enjoy Friday the 13th Part 3 way more than you did Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, but there's parts of the other. I think the special effects and the setting really like tipped the scale, obviously, and I think the basicness of Friday the 13th didn't help with its like story either. But like if I was to review it on my letterboxd, which I will have done by now, obviously because it's the future, Friday will have a higher score. But we've done this before. We broke it down into categories, and I've gotten mad because the film I didn't want to win either comes on top or comes really, really close to winning.
Yeah, it is interesting when you break it down like that. There are films like that, like on the surface, one that you think you enjoy way more, but when you look at the little details and you score it up, it doesn't kind of fall in the opposite direction. And speaking on when you hate when that happens, I might as well tell you now that Nightmare on Elm Street, Dream Warriors won by a landslide, which is upsetting to me actually because going in, I thought I'd put Friday first because Friday the 13th as a franchise, I enjoy way more. And I think I only voted for Friday in Jason's category, which is fucking blasphemous. And that's the only one I didn't win. And it's because I love the character so much, but I think everything else I had in Nightmare on Elm Street's favour. So the score ended up being 194 to 185. That's a huge discrepancy.
I think you definitely showed it throughout the episode. Like I just said, the basicness of Friday really was a detriment. I think definitely for you, because like we've seen it before, it's basic. Whereas the Nightmare is a bit more creative in what it is and what it can be, and especially with like the special effects and stuff. And the kills for you, obviously, not for me. I prefer my kills better, with a higher. I've got a higher standard of quality.
Yeah, let's put this knife in this guy like we did with last guy, one before that.
What do you want from a slasher? You just said you love slashers. What do you want?
Yeah, but they don't have to be like Leatherface has a chainsaw.
Right.
I don't need a knife.
Slasher? Yeah, you would actually class that as a slasher.
Nightmare on Elm Street's a slasher. He injected that many drugs into a woman that she just died. I mean, that's fucking brilliant. How creative.
I don't know. I've grown up in Mansfield and Ladybrook, so that's not really that creative.
Well, I grew up in the sunny seaside town of Filey where nothing bad ever happened.
Ever.
It was beautiful.
All I can say is that I'm livid, but glad it's over.
Yeah, at least you never have to watch these films again.
No, I'm going to go back and watch the first one Friday. Bloody hell. Nightmare. And the new Nightmare sounds good.
Yeah, the new Nightmare is really good.
Because, as you know, outside of it, my second, well, actually, definitely more than it, my favourite franchise of horror movie is Scream. That's my favourite.
And mine.
Yeah. So I love the meta stuff that it all does and the commentary on the horror genres at the time it's happening, except for Scream 3 that doesn't do that at all and just has fun. But so New Nightmare sounds interesting. So I will watch the first one and I will watch New Nightmare. How many I kind of want to watch every single Friday the 13th movie now because I want to know how stupid it gets. Do they all have stupid titles? Because I need to know.
No major spoilers, but one of them's got a girl with psychic powers taking on Jason.
Oh, fuck off. Really?
Yeah. It's like Carrie versus Jason.
Oh, this is literally the best thing to happen.
She's called Tina, I think. The fourth one is quite good because that's the one, it introduces a character named Tommy Jarvis who's in him for a few after that. And it's like, he's supposed to be like Jason's foe. So instead of having like a final girl, they've got a final guy for a while.
Oh, interesting.
Played by Corey Feldman in the next one.
For God's sake. At a glance, I already love these films. So you've got Friday the 13th, obviously. Then you've got Friday the 13th Part 2, makes sense. Friday the 13th 3D, or Part 3. Couldn't tell it was 3D. And then you've got Friday the
Final
13th,
chapter.
Final chapter.
That went well.
Yeah. And then immediately after, literally less than a year later, A New Beginning.
Yeah, it didn't wait long.
And then Jason Lives. And then The New Blood, which sounds like a Rambo movie. Then Jason Takes Manhattan, which is the one I'm most excited for. Jason Goes to Hell the Final Friday.
Clearly wasn't.
Jason X. and then Freddy versus Jason, which I do want to rewatch, and then Friday the 13th, which I'm guessing was a remake.
Yeah, 2009. That one's actually really underrated to me because that one, because it's more modern, he is brutal in that one, and you get to see like Jason as brutal and as aggressive as he'll ever be, and I think I really liked that one.
Is it like comparing the original Halloween to the remake Halloween, like the latest ones, where he does the same stuff, but it's just so much more fucking brutal?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. And that one's good because there's a guy. I mean, there's the leads are it's a woman as per, but it's also her brother in it, who's played by Jared Padalecki from Supernatural.
Yeah.
That's quite good because that leads to some decent like fight scenes and stuff. It's underrated. A lot of people don't like it, but I quite enjoy it. But yeah, there we go then. Another showdown done. Probably your least favorite that we'll ever do. I mean, if it gets worse than this, then we've done something seriously wrong for you.
And hopefully, I've had enough forethought. You've seen what I'm already going to do for the YouTube, for the Instagram page and everything, the pictures. Hopefully, as you're looking around us, I've made a bit of effort and changed. And we're all fully Halloween, and I'll have made the effort, and I'll have made the effort every week. If Cal turns up in fancy dress next week, I'll be surprised.
Well, I think I've still got my sloth from the Goonies. I should have worn my sloth mask because that is Jason.
You should have done. Right, okay, we'll re-record it.
Yeah, let's just go again.
How you got a bit of time to edit this? Just Photoshop it onto your face the entire way through.
Every time your face moves, it's just like woo. It's a little bit delayed time moving. It's like woo.
You look like Luke Skywalker in Mandalorian.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
that's
last minute.
You are.
Yeah, I got a Star Wars reference in last minute.
Yeah, you almost failed then. But yeah, that was good for me. And I think I was more entertained watching you have a breakdown.
Yeah, I think I've had one.
But we're back with some better films next week. It's a real step up in quality.
Yeah,
with two really good horror franchises, I think.
With one really good actor. If that's the biggest hint you're going to get.
Yeah. But yeah, so we'll be back with that soon. If you guys are listening to this on one of the audio channels, then feel free to head over to Spotify and have a look at our faces, because these are some good faces. And also, Nathan's wearing a skeleton pajama shirt, so that's worth seeing.
The manly t-shirt, not pajama.
Yeah, yeah, that's certainly not PJs, no chance. But yeah. So we are on YouTube at the CineMatch podcast. If you are watching on YouTube and you have been watching us chat all this nonsense for over an hour and a half, then please feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and head over to those audio platforms if you are sick of seeing that shirt. What's this now, like the third week in a row where you haven't worn a vest?
Well, first of all, right, if I wear a vest, you call me out. If I don't wear a vest, you call me out. I don't know what
I call you out. That's it. I just call you out. How do you not know this yet? It's been like 3 years almost. How do you not know I just call you out?
I'm not gonna lie. I was just thinking to myself. You were talking about my skeleton top, and I was like, "There's a joke somewhere here about me having a bone somewhere," and I'm not gonna make it.
Yeah, well, my head's not in the gutter. I'm quite a sensible human being, so I wouldn't have even thought of that.
Dirty joke? What are you talking about? Your head is in the gutter. I wasn't even making a dirty joke.
But yeah, I think I might start a campaign on social media to bring back the vest.
Oh yeah, just as we're going through the fucking coldest months. Cheers.
But yeah, we are on those audio channels. We're also both on Twitter. I'm on there at Callum Altimus. Oh yeah, will he be underneath?
It might not be. I might have changed it up now. We don't know.
We'll soon see. I mean, we're in suspense now, so we'll say it anyway, just in case they're not there. But yeah, I will be there at Callum Altimus, where I just tweet nonsense about films, football, sometimes wrestling. Most of the shit that I'm interested in that pretty much no one else is, especially Blackburn Rovers, who we're in a rough patch right now. It's not looking good. Hopefully by the time this comes out, we've surged at the table, but we look shit now. So
yeah, sport.
Yeah, that's it. Manly things. But I'm also on Letterboxd, where now that we're in October, it's going to be horror films all the time. I'm back at university now, and obviously this writing job with Gimme Sport is really like amping up the hours, and it's a lot of work. So I might not be able to watch as many, but I'm still going to try get at least at least 20 horror movies in October.
Are you going to watch more horror movies in October or more Christmas movies in December?
Oh, Christmas movies in December. I'm going to start Christmas movies mid-November. I ain't going to lie to you. I need time to watch them all. I'm going to try to get like 60 in.
Can we pre-record all of November's episodes so I don't have to hear you talk about?
We might have to. Just wait till December when we're cracking out those Christmas ones. I can't wait.
Do you know what? When we talked last in person, we were talking about Hallmark Christmas. It might have been on this last episode, the last episode actually. We were talking about Hallmark Christmas movies and how you actually love them. I'm not doing an episode on Hallmark Christmas movies. Fuck you.
Category Carnage on Hallmark Christmas movies.
I wouldn't be able to know. I'm sure you could just make shit up and people will be like, yeah, that's definitely a movie.
Yeah, probably. I don't think anyone watches them. They'll be all over me. Letterboxd come December. Films that no one's ever heard of, with like half the cast of One Tree Hill. Beautiful, can't wait. But yeah, I'm on there. You can tell it's late. We're just fucking losing our minds.
We've ever recorded, definitely.
But yeah, I'm on there at Caltimus if you want to see what horror films I watch. Where can we find you?
At Nay_214 on Twitter, where again only really talk about Star Wars. Though, what date is it today? The 5th of October. So not only will I be married, Ahsoka will have finished. And if I've got my way, I will have been able to watch it while I'm in Cyprus. I've already been told no, but if we're listening to this after the wedding and I've watched it, I won.
If you haven't, I might watch it and send you DM spoilers.
You're not going to watch the entire season. You're just going to watch the last episode.
Just the last episode, checking back, by the way, this happens.
That 100% sounds like something you do. And then at Nay214, we out the underscore on Letterboxd, where I've really slowed down because of planning for today.
Things.
But it's probably going to pick back up now because we've got nothing on now. We're just waiting. So it's probably going to pick back up. Horror movies, definitely. I'm going to try and watch every single Friday. I think that might be it for me for October. Try and watch every single Friday the 13th. I need to catch up on I really want to catch up on the Chucky TV show because I really do like Chucky, and I've not seen the 2 seasons of that. And there's a 3rd season starting, so I really want to catch up on that in October. But yeah, Halloween movies for sure.
Can't wait. That's why it's one of my favourite months. Just watch as many horror films as I can. But yeah, that brings this episode to an end then, guys. Thank you for watching / listening. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll be back next week with more horror-themed content, hopefully more to Nathan's liking, because I feel like I've seen him age like 6 years throughout this recording.
Yep.
And this is shot ahead of time, so it's not even the marriage that's done that.
No, it's not. But no word of a lie, just to go off topic again, not that it's late or anything, but no word of a lie, I was doing my hair this morning, which it's very hard right now because I've not had an haircut. I'm still waiting, and I found this massive thick white hair in my fringe, and I don't mind it being on the sides. It's very obvious on the sides, but finding it in the fringe absolutely destroyed me. I was like, this is the end for me now. Just kill me now.
Yeah,
put me in the dirt.
Yeah, that's not good. I've been finding greys like in my hair for years now, and I think I'll be a silver fox before I'm 35, but we'll see. See how that goes.
I don't think the world is ready for that.
No. That it's like when people say that thing like, once I do this, once I get grey hair, it's over for you bitches. Right, anyway, that's it. That's it for this week. Thanks for checking us out, guys, and we'll see you again soon.